So for question 5, we're given two functions, f of x and g of x, and we're asked to evaluate those for various different inputs. So for this first one, for a, we're given an input value of 3. This is what's being fed into the function. So f of 3 would equal 4 times the input of 3 and then plus 1, which looks like 12 plus 1, or the number 13. If I did the same thing for, I'll go jump down and do part C. It says, what's f of 0? Well, instead of putting in a 3, we're going to put in the number 0 this time, and we end up just getting plain old 1. So that's 1. Let's go over here and look at this. This is g of 2. Okay, so let's be careful here because there were some mistakes with this one. So this equals, in parentheses, the 2 is my input, so I'm going to write 2 for x minus 4, and I'm going to square that. If I simplify the parentheses, I end up with a negative 2. Notice it's in these parentheses, squared, therefore this becomes a positive 4. Right? Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. If I take and I feed 4 into the function f, in other words, this input is going to be the number 4, I end up getting that this is, it's 4x plus 1, so I'm going to write 4 times the x plus 1, which is 16 plus 1, or the number 17. This next two they use both of the functions. So E says, what is the sum of g of 0 plus f of 2? So if I'm looking at g of 0, that means I'm going to feed 0 into this function. So that looks like 0 minus 4 squared. So the quantity 0 minus 4 gets squared, which looks like negative 4 getting squared, which looks like the number positive 16. So part of this is I've got 16, and to that I'm going to add f at 2. So if I'm plugging 2 into this function, 4x plus 1, this is going to look like 4 times my value, my input, plus 1, which looks like 8 plus 1, which looks like the number 9. So I'm just adding 16 and 9, and I get the value of 25. So g of 0 plus f of 2 ends up being 25. And then for part F, there's a quotient here. It says find g of negative 2 over f of 1. So if I plug negative 2 into this function, if negative 2 goes in for g, that ends up being negative 2 minus 4 in parentheses. So we have here negative 2 minus 4 squared, which looks like negative 6 squared, which of course is positive 36. So my numerator is positive 36. Remember, I'm squaring negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. And then for my denominator, I need to evaluate f when the input is 1. So if I'm placing 1 into this function, if 1's going in there, this is going to be 4 times the 1 and then plus 1. So 4 times my input of 1 plus 1, which looks like 5. No, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I've just got 36 fifths. And there are no common factors there. There's not a giant one, so I would just leave it as 36 fifths. If for some reason you absolutely have to have a mixed number, that's okay. I can deal with it. But again, I prefer this improper fraction.